people. But secondly, I've also spent some time over the last couple of weeks with immigration and had some in-depth conversations with them about our key markets. And I've put together some what I think will be very useful information for you on some of the red flags that are seen in applications coming from Indonesia and Cambodia. And although Indonesia and Cambodia are not traditionally considered high-risk countries, there are still things that we've been asked to keep an eye out for. And hopefully this will give you some information on how to ensure that your application is lodged in the best possible way, making sure that it will be accepted by the university. I'll try to get through this in the shortest possible time, leaving as much time as possible for questions at the end. If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat box and I will do my best to respond to all of those at the end of the session. So I'm going to share my screen with you now, and we will start by having a look at the genuine student statement. Now, just let me make sure I get the correct one. So when you are looking at the genuine student statement, it makes it a little bit difficult today because we're dealing with Indonesia, which is level 1, and Cambodia, which is level 2. So that is effectively two different statements of purpose. When you come on to the this page here, the SCU Ventures Genuine Student Statement, you will see down the bottom that there are two yellow buttons. One is the Genuine Student Statement for onshore and EL1 countries, so this would be relevant to Indonesia, and one is for EL2 and 3 countries, so this would be relevant to Cambodia. The difference is the documentation required. So the questions remain the same. So for that reason, I will have a look at the EL1 genuine student statement. The questions in both are exactly the same. As I said, the difference is only in the amount of documentation required. Indonesia, being level 1, requires far less documentation than a level 2 or level 3 country. So what we would be essentially looking for, I'll go through the genuine student statement and show you some of the major pitfalls that agents often make, which can lead to either refusal of the application or may result in the statement not being received. So the genuine student requirements must be submitted online using the correct form. As I said, Indonesia would use the onshore and level 1 statement of purpose. Cambodia would use level 2. If you use the incorrect statement, unfortunately, the team will come back to you and ask you to redo it. So it is important that you get it correct the first time. You'll notice here that any fields marked with a red asterisk are mandatory fields, so they must be completed. You will see that if the field is not completed, it will be highlighted in red and you will get this exclamation mark here. So by filling in the mandatory field, you will see that it is now highlighted in green and there is a tick. So we would go through and do the same for all of those fields that are highlighted with a red asterisk. This one here is probably the most important field. This one is referring to the study link record email address, not the student's personal email address or the agent's email address. This must be in the correct format and must be the specific email address that is listed in study link for this application. It will always follow this format, which will be APP hyphen, and then it will have the application ID number. So this is just an example at intadmissions.scu.edu.au. So you would fill that in as follows. Now, if this email address is not correct, you may be able to submit the form, but we will not receive the form. So it is very important that that email address is the correct one. You can find that in study link in the application below the student's details. Next, you would enter your email address. And by doing that, a copy of this form will go to your email address. So whatever that may be, you would enter that in there. Again, you're seeing that each time you enter, the field will turn green if it has been missed and a red tick there. You then enter the student's student ID number. Have you previously studied in Australia? Yes or no? If you tick yes, you would then be asked to answer the question. If you answered yes, did you complete your course? Yes or no? If you tick no, you must explain why you didn't complete the course. If not, if you tick no, you can tick no here and continue as follows. Do you hold an Australian visa, or have you held an Australian visa in the past? No. Have you ever had a visa refusal? No. Do you have relatives in Australia? This is a very important question. It is essential that this question is answered truthfully. If it is not, I can guarantee you that it will be found at some point, and it may result in refusal of the application if we find that this answer has not been answered correctly. Very often we find out later when a student is doing an interview that actually, yes, they do have relatives in Australia, but their application indicates that they have no relatives in Australia. In a situation like that, we would come back to you requesting an explanation as to why it was indicated that they had no relatives in Australia when they actually do. This is an important question because it is also one that immigration will look into. And we expect to have exactly the same information that immigration would have. This results in a higher incidence of visa grant and is much lower risk for the university. So if the student does have relatives in Australia, they would need to indicate the relationship to them in the box below. Are they married? Yes or no? Again, this must be answered truthfully. If they have children, they must answer yes or no to that question. Is your proposed course related to your previous study or employment? Yes or no? We would generally expect the answer to be yes. If no, we will request further information later. Do you understand the total cost of your tuition fees, accommodation and living expenses for the duration of your stay in Australia? Yes or no? Do you have any study gaps in study that exceed 6 months? If so, you would tick yes and explain what those gaps are. So for example, I have not been studying for the last 2 years because I have been working, and you would tell us about the work, the company they work for, etc. So that is section 1, very simple, simply ticking boxes yes or no, and perhaps providing further detail in the box provided. Then we come on to section 2, which is the most important part of the statement. This is the section that the majority of the weighting will be given to the student. This is predominantly the section that decides whether the student passes or fails the genuine student assessment. Now, I'm not going to go into enormous detail with these because we have a lot of information on our website about these, but I will tell you the types of things that we're looking for and give you tips for this. Now, again, it's really important that the student addresses the question specifically. All of these questions are mandatory, as you can see from the red asterisks, so there must be a response given. And to give you some hints, underneath each question, you will see a list of dot points which tells you what you must talk about. So for example, the first question is give details of your current circumstances, including ties to family, community, employment, and economic circumstances. In this question, you will be given a total of 1,000 characters. So that is not words, it is characters. So that means letters, punctuation, and spaces. It equates to approximately 300 to 350 words. So you do not have the luxury of a lot of space to waste time. It is important that you give specific information addressing this question. Here, you are asked to specifically talk about evidence of your family, social, cultural, religious, and financial or economic ties to your home country. Then you must clearly demonstrate your reasons for not studying this course in your home country if a similar course is available to you there. Now, even though all of these must be talked about, this one is highlighted in red, so it tells you that it is extremely important. One thing that we have noticed in visa refusals is that one of the most common reasons for refusals is where the student has not clearly demonstrated why they want to study in Australia and are unable to study in their home country if the same course is available there. So a lot of weight will be placed on this section. You must also discuss your personal circumstances in your home country and demonstrate that these circumstances would not incentivize you to apply for a student visa for any other reason than to genuinely study in Australia. So, for example, if the student was in a country that required military service, that may be considered a reason for the student to try to leave their country so that they can escape from that military service. That is just an example. It doesn't generally apply to Indonesia and Cambodia, but there would be other examples that you could use. Now, again, for level 1 students, we do not make supporting evidence mandatory. So you will see that this button does not have a red asterisk next to it. However, we recommend that wherever possible, you upload evidence to support your claims, as this will make it a lot stronger. To do so, you just click on the upload button, find your file, double click it, and it will upload here. Now, when the document has been successfully uploaded, you will see the document name appear below the upload button. So this tells me the document has successfully uploaded. If you try to upload a document and it does not show here, it means that it has not successfully uploaded. The main reason for this is that the form is unable to find the document because you have tried to upload it from a source that is not accessible to the form. For that reason, we recommend that you upload all documents directly from your desktop, not from a USB drive or from a website. Upload it from your desktop and then delete it. That is the best way to make sure that they are received. Question 2, explain why you wish to study this course in Australia with Southern Cross University, including your clear understanding of the requirements of the intended course and studying and living in Australia. Again, we've given tips down below. You must show that you have a good understanding of Australia and SCU and the course that you will study. You must demonstrate your knowledge of living in Australia, including why you have chosen your campus. So for example, if the student has chosen to study in Perth, why have they specifically chosen the Perth campus? What are the advantages of living in Perth compared to Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane? And your proposed living arrangements and associated costs. So here, both ourselves and immigration want to know that the student understands the country that they're coming to, the university that they're coming to, the course they're going to study, and the living costs in Australia. They should be able to give some indication about how they intend to find accommodation and how much they expect to pay for that accommodation. They should also talk about their course structure and any specific units that are of particular interest and that will benefit your future. Again, we recommend attaching supporting evidence for each claim. And if there is more than one piece of evidence, it should be all combined into one piece of evidence per question and uploaded as a single document. Again, to do so, just click upload and you will see the name appear below. Question 3. Explain how completing this course will be of benefit to you. So this is where we expect the student to be able to tell us how this course will benefit their future in terms of employability, remuneration, and other benefits. Again, they must talk about how their proposed course is relevant to their future employment. That may be employment in Australia, it may be employment in their home country. Whatever way they go, they must be able to explain how the course is going to help them find employment when they complete it. They should show how their intended course is in demand in Australia and will benefit the Australian community. If they do not intend to migrate to Australia, they must demonstrate how their course is in demand in their home country and that they'll be able to find suitable employment in this field. Here you'll see something a little bit different to what has been said in the past. You'll all be aware that from July last year, the genuine temporary entrant criteria was removed from legislation. This means that students are now allowed to disclose that they intend to or hope to apply for permanent residence. That is okay, but they must still prove that they are a genuine student and that their reason for studying this course is not only about permanent residence. For that reason, they must show that the course is of value to them in Australia and in their home country. They should discuss how the course will improve their employability and expected salary when they complete the qualification, and include a comparison of their potential salary in their home country compared to Australia. They must also address their return on investment and explain how studying this course in Australia is a good economic investment in their future. They must also demonstrate a strong career plan and how the course will help achieve career goals. Now, I can guarantee you that if all of these points are discussed succinctly and clearly, the student's statement will be approved. Generally, we find statements are rejected when the student has not addressed the dot points listed below. Question number 4, give any relevant details that you might like to include. So this gives you the chance to provide other information about the student. This is also a mandatory field, and we strongly recommend that you provide further details that you haven't had the space in these sections above, and you have additional 1,000 characters here to provide any further information you would like to provide. Again, we recommend not leaving this section blank. You should try to demonstrate how the student is genuine and how much they know about their intended course and its impact on their future. Don't repeat anything that you've mentioned above. This should be new information here. If there wasn't enough room above to address the return on investment and economic benefits, it can still be outlined here. Finally, question 5. Again, you'll see this is a mandatory question. So if it doesn't apply, all you need to do is type NA in the box. This question is if you have previously studied in Australia, provide a detailed history of your study record in Australia from the date of first arrival. So we want the student to tell us every course they have studied in Australia, if that applies. If it doesn't apply again, as I said, just type NA. Again, here we have a upload button for evidence of financial capacity. This is generally not required for level 1 countries. So students from Indonesia will generally not be asked for evidence of financial capacity. However, we may request that information if the assessor finds red flags in the application. So in other words, if the assessor feels that the application is high risk, they may request this information. So as I said, it is not usually required. If we don't request it, you do not have to upload it. If we do request it, you will be required to upload that. I should also state that not all students from level 1 countries will be required to provide a genuine student statement. Some students depending on their course, their background, etc., may not be required to provide one. If you are asked to provide one, please do so in the shortest possible time frame, and that will ensure that we can finalize the application quickly. So once you've got to the end, you will submit your application. Now, you're going to see an error here because you will see that I deliberately did not enter information into this text box. Once I enter that, I will see again the tick has gone green, and I can now submit. It will show that the form is processing, and then you will receive a message to say the statement has been successfully submitted and that we will be in touch if any further information is required. Now, again, as I said earlier, this does not mean that we have received the application. What it means is that there were no issues in the form, but it all depends on this email address and whether it was correctly entered. So again, that is very important. Now I'll just go through the level 2 genuine student statement very quickly. The difference here is that you will see that the supporting documents are mandatory. So for each question answered, even though the questions are exactly the same, the student must upload supporting documents. So this would apply currently to Cambodian students, not to Indonesian students. We hope that shortly we will be able to reduce the evidentiary requirements for Cambodian students. Cambodia is still listed as level 2, but we have a very good visa grant rate for Cambodia at the moment. So hopefully within the next couple of months, we will be able to move Cambodia to a level 1 genuine student statement. At this stage, it is still level 2, so evidence of supporting documentation is required. We also require in section 3 evidence of financial documents. Now there is a checklist here and it will indicate again by a red asterisk the mandatory documents required. Again, I can confirm that if these documents and the questions are answered as per the instructions given, the genuine student process will be finalized quickly, the student will be approved, and they can accept, and we will issue a COE. So that is the genuine student statement. I hope that helps. If anyone has any questions on that, please feel free to put those questions in the chat box and I will respond to those as at the end of this. I'm now going to reshare my screen and go over the information that we've prepared on specific information that will help you based on advice that we have been given by immigration. So I will start with Indonesia. So this is our GSR and admissions guide. This is a tool that we have built specifically for our agents to help you get a good understanding of what our requirements are. If you're using this tool, you will get direct links to the genuine student statement. So you'll see for Indonesia, if you click on this link, it will take you directly through to that onshore and level 1 genuine student statement. So going in this way will help you always find the correct documents. We We'll list out the documents required for submission of an application, the academic requirements for undergraduate, postgraduate students and the hotel school. And under the minimum genuine student requirement, we will list any specific requirements for the country, such as minimum and maximum age limits. So for Indonesia, we have a maximum age of 30 for undergraduate students and 35 for postgraduate, but we will consider applicants up to the age of 40 on a case-by-case basis. We do not accept applicants under 18 years of age. Then we look at the specific genuine student requirements. Now for Indonesia, you will see there are none. However, what we have done after discussions with immigration is put up the most common issues impacting genuine student outcomes for offshore applicants from Indonesia. Now, this information has all been provided to us in feedback from immigration, so it is useful. This is not saying that we are going to ask you for all of this information. It is for your information only and helps you ensure that a full and complete application is submitted. So these are the most common issues that are found both by ourselves and immigration for applications from Indonesia. Number one is unsubstantiated financial capacity. Now, again, Indonesia is a level 1 country and immigration does not always request evidence of finances. But when they do, they expect that the evidence of finances is complete. One of the most common issues we are advised is that many Indonesian applicants rely on parents' income without sufficient documentation, or they declare funds with only bank balance certificates and no transaction history. So when immigration is looking at financial capacity, they want to see the transaction history in the bank account, not just a balance certificate. So what we would suggest, if you are requested to provide financial documents, are 12-month bank statements for business or rental income and 6 months for sponsors' personal income showing regular income activity, sponsors' tax records, salary slips or company ownership documentation, loan sanction letters, clear statement of relationship to the sponsor with supporting IDs and family registry, etc. Again, I am not saying that we are requesting this. This is just information for you provided by immigration on what they would expect if you are asked to provide this. Another common issue with Indonesian applicants is course irrelevance or mismatch. So this is students who switch into unrelated fields, such as humanities into information technology or business to nursing, without a clear explanation or career trajectory. Now, currently, we are receiving a lot of applications from Indonesia for the graduate diploma of education in early childhood and the Master of Teaching. That is great. This is a very popular course, but many of the applications that are coming in are coming from students who are not from the education field. Now, this is not a problem, but it is a problem if they are unable to explain why they are transferring fields. So, for example, we may get a student who is a IT professional in Indonesia, and they are now applying to study early childhood education. We need a strong explanation of why the student wants to change their career path and their academic profile. If they can do that clearly, there should be no issue. They should be able to explain the motivation for changing, how the new course links to their long-term goals, previous exposure to the field, such as internships, short jobs, etc., and emerging industry demand in Indonesia. This will be required if the student is transferring into a field that they have no background in. Vague or generic study purpose. The common issue is that the genuine student statements often repeat unsubstantiated claims like Australia has better education or I want international experience. Now remember, this information is provided to us directly from immigration. This is them telling us that these are common trends that they see that may result in visa refusal. So they are saying avoid common statements like this because they mean nothing. Immigration considers them non-substantive justifications and show poor research or third-party authorship. What we mean here is that the statement has not been written by the student, but has been written by the agent. Immigration has been very clear. They are currently paying close attention to what they call agent involvement in student applications. Now, of course, as the agent, it is expected you will be involved in the application. You will be involved in submitting the document, submitting the application, but immigration is very suspicious when they believe that the statement has been written by an agent. The reason for that is that the student comes across as non-genuine, and this is very easy to identify because we see the same type of statement coming through again and again. If I have 10 students from Indonesia, I would expect to see 10 very different statements, not 10 statements that are very similar. If they are very similar, it suggests that they have probably not written it. We do understand that many students are concerned about writing the statement themselves because they feel that maybe their English isn't strong, but they still need to try. If they submit a statement to you and you help them tidy it up, that is fine. But you should not be writing the entire statement for them. One thing to be very aware of is that immigration is making extensive use of AI in identifying statements that have repetitive and common phrases that look like they have been written by someone else, or even worse, where they have been generated by AI. So the student should not use AI to write their statement. They can use AI to help them improve their statement, but not write it directly, because AI is able to identify that, and it may result in visa refusal if immigration has those suspicions. Inadequate return on investment is another key one. The common issue, applicants often cannot show that the financial cost of studying in Australia will return a justifiable return in Indonesia. So lack of ROI logic suggests the visa is being used for residence rather than education. So the student must be able to explain their return on investment. Now, one thing we do suggest is that they should consider their expected income after they complete their degree, minus their tax and expenses, to calculate how long it will take them to earn back their education expenses in Australia when they graduate. And to clearly state that they expect a return on investment within 2 to 3 years or 5 to 7 years, whatever it might be. The next one is weak or unexplained study gaps. Again, study or employment gaps of over 6 months are left unexplained and undocumented. This may result in refusal. So where there are study gaps, always back them up with documents to prove why there is a gap. A very common one is lack of research on course or provider. So both ourselves and immigration are looking to see that the student understands the course they have applied for, how it is delivered, and why they chose to study at SCU. If the student can't do this, it indicates, again, poor research or an agent-led decision, suggesting that there's low engagement. Now, when we do interviews with students, we may ask the student, why did you choose Southern Cross University? A common answer we get is, my agent told me to study there, or my cousin told me to study there. This is not an answer that we like to hear, and certainly not one that immigration likes to hear. Whilst an agent can suggest, the student themselves should have a strong understanding of the university and not just say, my agent told me to study here. We would expect them to do some research on the university and be able to explain a little bit about the course structure and the delivery format. For example, the Southern Cross University model, the term structure, learning outcomes and assessments. What are the strengths of Southern Cross University, like industry links or placement programs? Accommodation knowledge, etc. So if they're going to live in Perth, what do they know about accommodation in Perth? And again, being able to answer this sort of information will ensure both a positive response from the university and for their visa outcome. The final one is weak return motivation or ties to Indonesia. The common issue is that applicants often state, I want to return to Indonesia to help my country, or but they don't provide any information about how they're going to help their country, anything about what sort of job they hope to get when they return to Indonesia, what obligations they might have in Indonesia to their family or to a business or anything else they might have. So again, the main concern is that generic or unsupported return raises red flags, and that the student is only looking for permanent migration and not really for study. So we would expect them to emphasize their family ties, any job offers or intended employment. We understand that most will not have a job offer, but we expect that they've done some research on the type of job that they will be able to get. And their long-term plans, such as returning to Indonesia to manage a family business or teaching or whatever it may be. The final takeaway is that an Indonesian applicant should be able to demonstrate a clear career-aligned reason to study in Australia, supported by financial and academic preparedness, real understanding of the course and provider, and a credible plan to return and contribute to Indonesia's workforce. So hopefully that information is useful to you. Again, as I said, this is provided directly from immigration. So I would consider that very important information. I will go over Cambodia very quickly now. There will be some repetition, but there will be also some specific requirements listed here. For Cambodia, the most common issues impacting positive, genuine student outcomes are the following. The first is weak financial evidence or loan dependency. The common issue, again identified by immigration, is that many Cambodian applicants rely on education loans or undeclared cash income from family business. So we note that Cambodia is very strongly a cash economy, that many people do not put their money in a bank. But it is important to note that we cannot accept cash income unless there is evidence of where that cash came from. If it is from a business, we need to see evidence that that cash has come from a business. The concern is that inadequate documentation raises questions about the applicant's genuine access to funds and their capacity to sustain multi-year study in Australia. So for Cambodian students, we do require evidence of financial capacity. What we would look for is sponsor bank statements, 12 months of bank statements for business and rental income, and a minimum of 6 months for sponsors' personal income with savings showing regular deposits, etc. If the sponsor is getting their money from a business, we would want to see business registration documents, tax documents if applicable, or land lease agreements for farming income. There should be an affidavit of financial support and sponsor ID and proof of relationship. So we need to see evidence of the relationship between the student and their sponsor. If the student has a loan, we would expect to see the loan sanction letter and evidence of the collateral provided for that loan. The second one, similar to Indonesia, is unexplained study gaps. I won't go through that one again because we have discussed it with Indonesia, but you can see again that gaps of more than 6 months without explanation can be problematic. Third one, again, generic or agent written statements. Again, we discussed this with Indonesia, but I will reiterate this one because it is so important. Many genuine student statement documents are copy and paste templates with statements like Australia has world-class education and better teaching styles without any detail. The concern is that generic writing is interpreted as low research and a non-genuine intention. So it is important that the genuine student statement is personalized and reflects the student's own voice, that it mentions specific course units, term models, or university facilities, includes reasons for choosing Southern Cross, such as the Southern Cross model, and links the course with specific career outcomes in Cambodia. Number 4 is the poor justification for studying abroad. Now, this is a common one. where applicants do not clearly explain why a course available at home, for example, in the Royal University of Phnom Penh or Northern University, must be taken in Australia. So, for example, a Bachelor of Business, this course is available in Cambodia. This does not mean that you cannot study it in Australia, but it does mean you must be able to explain why studying this course in Australia will benefit you more than if you studied this course at home in Cambodia. The concern here is that if local options exist and aren't addressed, the application appears to be migration focused and not genuine. So, the applicant should acknowledge that similar courses exist in Cambodia, but explain why these are not a viable option when considering their future plans and career goals. Then show that Australia offers a faster duration, for example, a 3-year bachelor compared to a 4-year bachelor in Cambodia, practical learning or industry placements and internships, which may not be available in Cambodia, international accreditation or better graduate employment links. You will note that Southern Cross University has just received a new accolade under the QS rankings, where we have now again received a 5-star ranking overall. So Southern Cross University is increasing in its ranking. It is now also clearly ranked in one of the top 100 young universities in the world. So this is the type of thing that you can talk about under international accreditation and a better graduate employment links. One of the areas where Southern Cross University gained a 5-star under the QS rankings is graduate employability. So being aware of things like this and mentioning them in the genuine student statement makes that statement a lot stronger. Mention the intended course's real-world benefits. So for example, if they're studying early childhood education, they could talk about the pedagogy differences between Australia and Cambodia, and how studying education in Australia will benefit the Cambodian education system, for example. Again, unclear career outcomes or return on investment. We have spoken about that in relation to Indonesia, so I won't repeat that. Again, you should consider this formula when discussing the return on investment. It is very important. Just some advice here about mentioning targets in terms of employment, expected income increase. You can use things like pay scale Cambodia, etc., to show that you've done research and provide evidence of that. Number 6, again, similar to Indonesia, lack of provider or course knowledge. So again, we would expect the applicant to be able to clearly identify course units, the delivery format like the Southern Cross model, where the campus is located, the graduate support offices offered by SCU, etc. Insufficient evidence of returning home. Again, applicants give broad reasons similar to Indonesia, like I want to go home to help my country, but they don't say how they intend to do that. So again, you should emphasize your ties to your home country, family responsibility or ownership of land or property in Cambodia, job offers or letters of interest from Cambodian employers or intended careers, civil service employment goals, or a role in a family business, etc. So again, the final takeaway, Cambodian students should demonstrate that they have clear academic intent, real financial capacity, know what and where they are studying, and intend to return to Cambodia with employable skills. So again, I will reiterate that this information has been provided directly to us in consultation with immigration. So it is really useful information for you when preparing your application to both the university and for visa application. Southern Cross University expects that all visa applications are shared with us in IMI account. That is something that immigration has asked us to ensure that happens. This also assures immigration that we are actively monitoring visa applications and ensuring that the information provided to us is the same as the information provided to immigration. We understand that the genuine student process can take a little bit of time, but the good news is that the evidence shows that when this process is followed, we have a very high visa grant rate. Now, Indonesia, as we know, is a level 1 country. It already has a high visa grant rate, but we are still told by immigration of potential pitfalls and problems that may result in visa refusals. Cambodia is level 2. It is therefore higher risk, but we are convinced that by following the process and providing everything that both ourselves and immigration requires, there will be a high visa grant rate. I can confirm that Southern Cross University Ventures have had no visa refusals for the past 3 months. We are moving on to our 4th month now. That is very strongly indicative to us that we are doing what immigration wants. The university is now back at level 1, although it will not formally go to level 1 until the end of June. Our Vice-Chancellor is adamant that we return formally to level 1, and we have been told not to do anything to jeopardize that return to level 1. Which is why we're following this process. I'm more than happy anytime for anyone to contact me directly if you have any question about an application. Obviously, of course, you can go to Tuti and she is more than happy to deal with your questions. But if you have an application that you're not sure, will it meet the requirements or not, and you don't want to waste time putting in the application if it's going to be rejected, I'm more than happy for you to email me with details of the application and say, John, what do you think? Will this application be approved? And I'm happy to pre-assess that for you and let you know whether or not I think it will pass. For that purpose, I will put my email address in the chat box and feel free to contact me when you like. I do realize we have already gone to time, but I hope the session has been useful. We do want to give time for questions, so I'll pass back to John and Tuti now, and happy to answer any questions anyone may have. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, John, for that. This is very useful for all of the agents, especially the feedback from the immigration. I guess it's a lovely thing to bring you closer to the agent, because especially you are very welcome to get any question and then they can access you for any question also. So we have 2 questions here already, and I have some question directly to me. I think I will start with Viola first. So the first question is it okay if the student sponsor doesn't have a passport yet? Is it possible for the agent to provide the national identity card and it's like certified by sworn translator?
Yes, that is fine. We don't have to have a copy of the sponsor's passport as long as we have some form of identification that shows how they're related to the student. That's fine. So national ID card is fine.
Okay. Second question, does the student allowed to mention about post-study visa as a benefit of choosing Australia instead of other countries?
Yes, absolutely. And we would strongly recommend that they do. This is one of the key selling points for Australia, the fact that we do have a post-study work visa. But if they mention that, they should mention how that will benefit them. For example, getting hands-on work experience in Australia will make them a lot more competitive when they return to their home country and enter the job market there. So yes, definitely, and please do that.
Okay. Another very good question from Miss Devi. So she's talking about the economic benefit if the students comes back to Indonesia, especially, and we all know that the economic benefit is of course far lower than Australia. So how is the best way to mentioning and comparing that it's a good economic benefit when they comes back to Indonesia, John? Because is it going to be affected immigration or something?
Yeah. This is a difficult one, but as I said earlier, from July last year, the genuine temporary entrant criteria ceased to exist. Under the GTE, students would automatically be rejected a visa if they mentioned their intention to apply for residence in Australia. The genuine temporary entrant criteria has been replaced by the genuine student criteria. So what the student needs to do now is no longer prove that their intention is 100% to go back to their home country. Instead, they need to prove that they are genuinely coming to Australia to study and get a degree that will be beneficial to them in Australia and in their home country. They may now mention that if they're eligible to do so, they may apply for permanent residence. I would be very careful here. We don't want to make it look like their main reason for coming to Australia is permanent residence. But they can say that permanent residence may be an option for them. I haven't decided yet whether I will apply for permanent residence, but may do so in future if that is an option. Therefore, a course like education will help me because it is an occupation that has a skills shortage in Australia. And in studying this course, I can help fill that skills gap in Australia. But if I'm not eligible for permanent residence in Australia, I can still return to Indonesia with this qualification. And even though it may take me a longer time to get my return on investment, teaching is still a solid career. It is a stable career, even though the salary may not be as high as other careers. It is looked on favorably in the community. Teachers have respect, and it gives me stability. And there's also the chance of promotion as I get more experience. So these are the sorts of things that I would talk about. Hopefully that answers your question.
Thanks, John. Another question to me, it's very specific to the Hotel School Australia. So some agents, they met a hotel GM, which they don't have a bachelor degree. In the past, they just study diploma or something, but the age is already like 40 plus. I do understand that we can consider case by case up to 40, but if in the case some agent, they receive this, is it possible or is there any chance to get an offer to THS?
Hmm. You're asking the hard ones there, Tuti. So generally speaking, the university is not in favour of applicants over the age of 40. That doesn't mean that we won't allow them. The reason that we are not in favour of those is that immigration is quite clear that the older a student is, the closer they are to retirement, the less benefit they gain from that career and the less benefit they get in terms of return on investment. If I'm 20 years old, I'm doing a 3-year degree in Australia, I have another 40 years left of my working life. If I'm 40 or 50 years old, I have a much shorter time left in which to earn that return on investment. So the short answer, Tuti, is that we don't favour students over the age of 40. However, if they can provide a very strong case to show that their return on investment is strong and that their employment opportunities are strong, we would consider the case on a case-by-case basis. This would only be for Indonesia because it is level 1. We would not do that for level 2 or 3 countries.
Thanks, John. This is very makes sense. I know that we have passed sometimes, but I'm going to pick two very important question for you. So this is from Etling. They have a case of 1 year high school students with gap, like 1 year gap. The thing is, for some students with a good financial background, they have the privilege to not do anything for 1 year and then just maybe study IELTS and think about what kind of course they want to decide. So what is your perspective on this? Is it considered like high risk or still fine for Indonesian students?
So for undergraduate students, we generally allow up to 12 months of gap. To be honest, we have seen cases in the past where immigration has refused a visa for an undergraduate student where they have not been able to show what they've been doing since they finished high school. Immigration doesn't seem to like students who just sit around doing nothing. So we would expect to see some explanation of what they've been doing. If they've been studying for IELTS, then show us evidence that they've been studying IELTS. It is where they've got nothing. If it's up to 6 months, a gap of up to 6 months with nothing, that is fine. Over 6 months, we would need some sort of evidence, but we would still accept it.
Okay, great. And the last question, John. I know that we have a very top in demand course, it's Master of Teaching, and some agents here, they're sending students, like sending application from onshore. And yes, some are getting rejected very quickly. And in my understanding, it's because some students, usually they stay too long in Australia, and I do believe it doesn't meet our GSS requirement. So just to manage the agent expectation, can you advise them further on this, John? How to handle like straight away rejection?
Yeah, so it's hard to say without looking at specific cases, but I can give some general information on what we see. Firstly, I should say that, again, Indonesia is a low-risk country. The majority of onshore applications are approved. However, we have seen a small number of Indonesian applications rejected, and the main reasons for those would be as follows. Number one, students who have been in Australia for more than 5 years, who have studied multiple courses on multiple visas, and have not yet applied for permanent residence or anything like that. Now, this would be a student who, let's say they came to Australia in 2017 and studied a bachelor degree. They completed their bachelor degree and then they went on a 485 visa. After the 485 visa, they went on to a 408 visa. And now they're applying to come back to study in a course that is not related to their previous course. So most of the Indonesian onshore students are applying to study education, and their background might be in business or IT or something like this. We asked them to provide a written statement explaining why they want to change from business to education, and the statement they provide is not strong. So they failed that statement. In many cases, we give the students, because Indonesia is low risk, we try to help them get through the process, and we give them 2 opportunities, but still they fail. So this means that they're not prepared. They haven't put the time and effort into the application. Many of you will be aware of the Australian government's migration strategy that was released in December 2023. That strategy clearly stated that they wanted to reduce the number of international students in Australia who have been here for a long time and not managed to get permanent residence yet. By long time, they define this as over 5 years. So, you know, if a student's been here 5 or 6 years, okay, but once it gets to the 7, 8, 9, 10 years, this becomes a bit of a problem. So that is number one. The second reason I've already touched on, but we'll spend a bit more time on, and that is where the student is coming from a non-cognate background, wanting to apply for education, and have given very general statements about why they want to transfer into a new career path. Usually they provide very little supporting evidence to back up their claims, and their claims are very general, saying things like, I have a passion for children, or I have always wanted to influence young children, this type of thing. This kind of statement is really nonsense because passion is not something that you suddenly find. Passion is something that you've known about for a long time, and if you were truly passionate about young children, then why didn't you study education before you studied business or IT? So that's not to say that you can't change your mind, but you must be able to explain why, and most of the ones who have been rejected haven't been able to explain why. So hopefully that explains the main reasons for those refusals. It is on these 2 grounds specifically.
Thank you so much, John. I think that's explained everything, and we do believe that our valued agent in here, they will again find this very helpful, and they will be understand the reason why we act on that. So thanks so much, John. This is very insightful. I'm going to offer to you, John Dison, for a
Great. Thank you, Tuti, and especially to you, John. This is a very helpful information session for everyone. And the number of attendees, at one point we were at 130 plus, just proves the interest coming from our partners from Indonesia and Cambodia with what we could offer to them for their prospective students. So with that, I know that we are 25 minutes above beyond our scheduled time, but thank you for staying with us, and please continue to work with us, with Tuti and with John C, and also with me. And I hope everyone was able to get something out of this webinar. So thank you, and have a great day ahead.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
Thank you,
everyone. Have
everyone.
a nice
Thank
day.
you.
Thank you.
Bye.